All right, that is a report by our senior reporter, Duncan Haemba, right there, highlighting some of the relations that these two countries, which are neighbors and partners as well, actually have to offer. Now, we're talking about the escalating maritime boundary dispute between Kenya and Somalia, which may have far-fetching consequences in both countries, not just one side. Now, let's just highlight this. In studio already, Abdi Wahab Sheikh Abdi Samad, who is a Horn of Africa analyst. Thank you for making time.
Thank you so much.
And of course, Abel Oyeyo, who's a regional affairs analyst. Always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
All right, now let's start with the latest move. We appreciate the stakes are high. Reading into the latest move by Kenya, where on May 21st, 2019, Kenya denied 3 senior Somali officials access into the country to actually to go to an event organized by the EU on cross-border conflict management. With the ruling of the ICJ scheduled for September 2019, what is at stake for Kenya and Somalia in this dynamic news scramble for Africa?
Let me first highlight the historical background of the issue. You know, before 2000 time, before the 2009, there is no maritime dispute between Somalia and Kenya. These two neighbor sisters, they lived together side by side for a long time. Now, the area in dispute is less than 100,000 kilometers square. Somalia, they auctioned 202 blocks, you know, in London conference. From Hobyo to Kismayo, it's almost 56 blocks. Out of the 56 blocks, it's only 3 or 4 in dispute between the border between Somalia and Kenya. In addition to that, if you look at how the Kenya, in fact, the version of the Kenya, it should be what they call 45 degree. While the version of Somalia is almost a 90 degree. Are we together? If you follow the issue of the 90 degree, then, you know, not as such, but the Kenya became a landlocked, you know, what do you call, landlocked country. But as we speak right now, the case in front of the International Court of Justice, which hopefully both neighbors, both states agreed, any verdict came from the International Court of Justice, they're going to obey. Somalia is a fragmented state as we speak right now. You know, the President Farmajo is not in control of the entire nation, unlike the Siad Barre, you know, before the collapse of Somali state. It's only controlling what they call the Mogadishu itself. Kenya, they have a good, you know, terms with Jubaland administration. They have a good relation with Somaliland. They have a good relation with all the Somali people as well. Farmajo, since he is not in control of the country, he cannot make what they call, you know, roadside, you know, agreement with Kenya. Honestly speaking, the moment he has done, the guy, he is no longer head of state. It's for sure. Somalia, as we know right now, there is no law at all. So if you look at the mood of the people, this guy want to, you know, there's an election come at the other corner. So what he's trying to do is, he's waiting what they call the verdict of the court, so that he's seeking what the re-election. In fact, he's going to re-elect. Right now, if in fact he come here and sign the agreement with Kenya, take my word, he is no longer head of state. They will go into Villa Somalia and they remove from there. So the guy is between hard place and rock.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so that's interesting perspective right there. Now, Abel Oyeyo, we've had the insight into how Farmajo's hands are sort of tied, you know, in terms of this particular diplomatic tiff. But what is at stake on Kenya's side in terms of this 62,000 square kilometers of area in the maritime boundary?
Thank you so much. A couple of things. Number one, the blocks we're talking about, block number 22, block number 23, no, 24 and 25 had been sold by the Kenyan government to an Italian company. So we're talking about if they go to Somalia, of course, based on the decision of the International Court of Justice come September, they'll have to get the money back to the Italian company which had been given, you know, the contract to go and look for the oil. That is number one. Number two, as my friend talked about, there's the issue of being landlocked. 2,000 miles might sound like it's a small, area, but it's big. And Kenya gets threatened with the issue of getting landlocked. I think you understand the value of the port of Mombasa, and our coastline is very, very significant. So that is number two. We're going to actually move close to being landlocked. We're talking about countries like Sudan, Rwanda, Burundi, that rely on what comes to Mombasa to be moved to their, countries. So they'll not have access to that. Number three, talk about the lack of security in Somalia, talk about pirates and all that. Kenya is the only country which has a semblance of a navy which can, of course, patrol the high seas and make sure that there is safety. Now, if we lose that piece of land, then it means our control of the high seas gets limited, which means we become susceptible to what? Attacks by militants and pirates. Right. So 3 issues. And so for Kenya, it's so much. There's so much at stake. And of course, it's a display or an expression of lack of gratitude. Kenya has invested so much in Somalia, as we know. Actually, even the Somali citizens know that. We've taken care of them as our brothers and sisters. And if you talk to Omar, the current U.S. Congresswoman from Minnesota, she'll tell you, she went to the U.S. from Kenya. She has so much regard for Kenya. And in fact, I had a conversation with her in the morning today, and she said, I think the Somali government is making a mistake. So I think it's not good. I think Somalia is making a mistake. And I don't think it matters whether the president is between a rock and a hard place. At the end of the day, he has to do the right thing. All right.
Abdi Wahab, I'll allow you to respond to that.
Let me respond to him.
Yeah.
No question about that. Kenya, they invest a lot in Somalia. Equally, the Somali community contribute a lot to Kenyan side in terms of trade, in terms of what they call the trade and everything. Not only for that. It's not the first time African countries they're in conflict such kind of things. For instance, there's a Congo between Congo and what they call Angola. And sorry, Angola is. They resolve in peaceful manner. And I was reading just right now, Bantu proverb. Patient is the mother of the beautiful child.
Yes.
Why can't you be patient enough so that this guy, let him first handle the entire nation? AMISOM are there for the last 10 years. And the mandate of AMISOM was to see the stable Somali state. Fortunately, 10 years down the line, AMISOM is not going to nowhere. But the question is, I'm 100% sure the Somalis and Kenya, they are going to come together, resolve the issues once and for all. But it seems, the Kenyan are overreacting somehow. Or, there's, I don't know.
He just mentioned what is at stake for Kenya.
I don't know. What basically I'm saying, Kenya invested Somalia a lot. I'm not disputing for that.
Yes.
But if you look at the level of integration between two societies, it's huge. And again, the number of what they call, how the Somali society are contributing to the economy of this country is also impressive, honestly speaking.
Definitely.
So the relation between Somalis and Kenya is more important than the relation between Kenya and Tanzania, Kenya and Uganda as well.
All right. So in short, you do not think that Somalia is simply its lack of being grateful to a partner, a country that has...
Not as such.
Okay.
You must understand the current situation of Somalia.
All
Somalia
right.
is a fragmented state as we speak right now. There is no what you call a strong government, centralized strong government. Somaliland became a very great republic of Somaliland. Puntland, somehow, they are not in good books with the Farmaajo administration. As you are aware, Jubilant administration, they are not good books in the Farmaajo administration.
Yes.
Who are you dealing with? You are dealing with what they call, it's not even a government, to be honest with you. It's semblance of governments who they are dealing with.
All right, yes. So we're hinting towards a state of, lawlessness, quote unquote.
That's how things are.
All right, now back to you, Oyeyo. Yeah. Even as you perhaps reply to what he has raised, this decision by the ICJ will be binding, legally binding. We cannot walk out of it as Kenya and Somalia as well. But let's just take a look at reports of discoveries of massive amounts of hydrocarbons hydrocarbon deposits and oil potential in that disputed stretch.
Yes.
Are we looking at a case where, you know, Kenya is at loggerheads with international oil giants and prospectors who have actually fueled and bankrolled this dispute with Somalia? And if that's the case, what does the geopolitical war in the Gulf region mean in this dispute?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd like to, just before I address what you've just raised,
All right.
Number one, I'd like to reply to something you raised. Look at 2009. There was a chance for these guys to, actually Kenya pushed for the resolution
out of court.
Yes, out of court,
Yes.
settlement of the issue. So there's been a lot of time for the case to be settled, you know, between Kenya and Somalia in a very friendly way. But Somalia has pushed forward and taken to the ICJ.
But they pointed blaming fingers on Kenya for
How?
lack
They were
of...
the first, the auction the first time.
I don't think so. You know, when you look at someone you've taken care of so much, they need to be patient with you because you're handling so much. So it's Somalia that has pushed the case all the way to the ICJ.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate, and because the push itself is in bad faith, Kenya has the right of reply. Okay. And I don't think whatever comes out of the ICJ should be binding. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be.
Yes,
when you
sir.
look at Article 6,
Okay.
no, Article 7, subsection 6, sub-Article 6 of the Law of the Sea, it's very clear. You know, you cannot claim a straight line when it goes to what we call the territorial sea of a neighboring state, when you guys are adjacent. So when someone argues about a straight line, it violates that particular law. When you go to Article 15, it talks about a historical possession of a piece of land. Kenya has always claimed that since 1979. So we've known these are part of the sea. So they're violating that and going to the ICJ, well, knowing that was, you know, a display of bad faith. Now, we know nobody is interested. There are so many countries interested in that particular piece of land because of the discovery of, you know, the huge deposits of oil.
Yes.
So I don't think the pressure is actually from Somalia itself. There is external pressure that is being applied on the Somalis to abuse a neighboring state that has been so helpful to them.
And why are we focusing as a country on the puppet, not the puppeteer, you know?
That is why I think now that is where now presidential leadership comes in. You remember in 1976 when Idi Amin wanted to actually move in and take some parts of Kenya back to Uganda.
Yes.
Kenyatta made it very clear. We don't like war, but if you poke us, we'll deal with you accordingly, ruthlessly. Not even a quarter an inch can be given to Uganda. That is what he said. We need the president to make it very clear to both the puppet and the puppeteers. Kenya will go to any length to defend the integrity of its borders.
All right. As you also reply to that.
Before that,
Okay, let me ask, is there option of out-of-court settlement still standing? Because he mentioned between 2009 till 2014, we had that on the table, but it didn't bear fruits at all.
you know, as I told you earlier, you must understand the current situation of Somalia today.
Okay.
The current situation of Somalia today, in fact, they are eagerly waiting the verdict of the International Court of Justice. But as what they call a spirit of Pan-Africanism, they can resolve this issue very in a simplistic way. I give you an example between Angola and Congo. There is a, you know, they can even call what they call African Union to come in and mediate. They can call, you know, IGAD member states. Also, they can mediate between them. But I'll let me enlighten your mind one thing.
Okay.
You know, from Hobyo to Kenyan border, it's a 56 blocks. Out of 56 blocks, it's only 3 or 4 in dispute. Each block can generate 1 million barrels per day. And in fact, it's a 200 kilometer inside, the deep inside of the Indian Ocean, whereby even they are not in control of some of those areas. Now, the Somali Parliament has passed a Petroleum Act just last week, and they are going to auction those blocks, not the blocks in conflict,
All right.
in dispute.
Okay.
So if one block can generate 1 million barrels per day, which means Somalia can generate $24 billion per year. In addition to that, corporate tax, what they call, petroleum city, put together, it's almost $40 billion per year, which is almost the budget of America for 4 years.
Oh.
So, negotiating with 3 blocks out of 46 blocks, I don't think it's not that difficult. The issue is, are we patient enough right now so that let this guy go to elections?
All right.
Let them wait what they call verdict of the International Court of Justice, and then they can negotiate if they can give it up for free. What's the problem?
Abel, very briefly, in 30
What's the
seconds or so.
problem?
Kindly.
Whatever the decision of the SCJ will be binding.
Yes.
And it's upon Kenya to decide to rubbish it. Talking about letting the decision to be made and then you go back and begin settling it out of courts is a waste of time because the time has been given.
Exactly.
The only thing the Somalis can do is to go ahead and do what? Withdraw the case. That is it, in good faith. And the Kenyan leadership has to be very, very steadfast. They have to send a message to both the puppeteers and the puppets.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
They cannot withdraw because the moment they withdraw, Farmaajo will not exist. Take it from me.
So it's a balance of patience. It's wait and see. But
Yes.
anyway, it is very contentious, and we'll definitely
It
have
is.
this discussion over and over again. So many thanks, gentlemen, for making time. Of course, we'll have more time to discuss about this maritime